I'll cut to the chase that, but there are some people I wanted to address first of questions, and I felt like this started such a bad taste in the mouth of people because they thought in some way that the 3rd Street Bridge, so I'm going to address the bridge, and so what I pulled up is the summary of the budget. So in July, we have our budget workshop, and we get 2 big binders. The smaller binder is the summary, and there's a letter on page 44. It's a whole letter from our city supervisor to all the council. And on page 44, under capital project funds, it says, in 2017, council approved the use of the Hamilton funds for the playground. Another project proposed is a 3rd Street multimodal bridge spanning Paradise Creek and providing vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian access. This project is proposed to be funded by a transfer of general fund capital projects accumulation to the street fund capital projects account. The street fund improvements pavement maintenance program has been transferred to the capital projects fund, that's a big number, and is funded in the amount of $872,000 with an excess. Major multi-year street fund related project, blah, blah, blah. So we have a budget hearing, and every year, it starts now, going through the departments, and then by June, these books start coming out. And this is the first pages of the book of 256 pages, and then we have another huge binder that has the line items. To also address the bridge, in our comprehensive plan, in chapter 3-10, under community mobility, there's a lot that talks about transportation on the east side of town. And there's a paragraph that talk about that we need improvement to deal with the volume of traffic, and we'd like to have more transportation, like transit types of things. And the multimodal plan, which is part of a document of its own, but is referred to in this document called a City of Moscow Strategic Plan that lists all the plans that we follow to figure out what to do for the city. In chapter 4 of the multimodal plan, it talks all about identifying how to deal with these major areas. And it's on page 4-1. It goes through several pages that I highlighted. But I wanted to bring this up because I felt like the way the council was treated and city staff, that in some way that this had been done without the process wasn't fair. And we've been going through the process. And what we've done with the subcommittee in the transportation is exactly what we've always done. And so that's what I wanted to start with. Okay. After that, I did a lot of research, and this bridge, I came to town 20 years ago. This bridge has been talked about for a long time. And I didn't know the politics. All I knew is that when I was running for council 2.5 years ago, at the forums, I was being asked about this bridge. So I started doing research, and I find all kinds of notes from the Transportation Committee meetings starting back in '94. I mean, this corridor has been up and out for a long, long time. So I read and figured out what's the best thing we should do, and I thought about it. And it follows these plans that our city staff is following and that the consultants and the people that have worked for our community have put together. So that is really important to say, and that it's been budgeted for. I also support Plan C, and I appreciate every bit of what Becker Goosh and Amy Ball and Phil Cook and Mike Lowry and Mike Kite and Joanne, and I'm sorry if I'm missing somebody, that came to those meetings and spoke, Dan Carscallon and
Marshall Comstock.
Yeah, Marshall Comstock. They came, everybody came and laid it on the line of what was important to them. And I loved how much you said, make the corridor bike friendly. And I feel like Plan C totally does that. And just to make a little addendum here about Plan D, I know that street staff has a lot to do with snow, and I have a feeling Plan D is addressing staff's responsibility in dealing with the resources and the ways you have to get rid of all the snow that piles up. So I feel like that was an internal issue of trying to figure out what to do. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's just me looking at things. Anyway, so I've thought about this a lot. I've read a ton, and I think we should be proud of what we've done as a community to push this forward and get this done.
Thank you, Catherine. And I'll get to you in just a second, Gina, but there's a point that I want to make is Les hit this. In his presentation, he talked about some of the problematic things being snow removal, garbage cans, I wrote that down, and parking was an issue with Plan C, and so maybe that addresses some of the things that you were talking about, Catherine. I don't know, but anyway, I wanted to bring that up. I know we got some of our street guys here, so when we get into the discussion, I'd like to call on them and see what they think, but Jeannie, you've got the floor right now.
Well, again, like Catherine said, let's just all have a thank you moment, you guys, and that's not dismissive by any means. Each and every one of us in the room has devoted time and thought and blood and sweat to this whole project and deserves gratitude from the rest of us on how much we've put into this. It is unfortunate to me that this has become a little bit of a divisive issue, and that bothers me. I'm like Garrett. I'm not a big conflict fan myself. I will say that I think it was brilliant to put the subcommittee together and to pull in the concerned parties and work towards some options. I think Plan C is good. I think it's solid. I do have some questions, however. And are we, can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so we were talking about, you called them traffic controls. Is that Les McDonald speak for four-way stoplights?
Stop signs.
No, not stop signs, stop lights.
No, not lights. No,
Okay,
traffic control is just a generic term for different types of traffic management. So it could be yield, it could be stop, it could be lights, any number of things.
okay,
In this case, we're talking stop signs.
okay. So is there a possibility for a traffic control concept at Third and Mountain View as well? I did not see one listed. You spoke of Hayes and Blaine, and to me, it seems like almost we should be including Mountain View in this process.
Yeah, the proposal keeps turning that up. The proposal is four-way stop control at the Hayes intersection and the Blaine intersection. We did not make a proposal to modify the Mountain View intersection at this time. Mountain View, of course, is a much higher volume roadway than anything that comes into it. And so that's always a question about, should you put stop control on a high volume intersection or high volume roadway like Mountain View? It's obviously come up a couple of times as it relates to other intersections on Mountain View, White Avenue and D and F most recently. And so, yeah, it's something I think we can look at. It was not something we discussed in this process.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see it mentioned. That's why I asked the question. I believe that the idea to bring in a consultant is important in that there are any number of intersections along our corridor that bring into high relief that moment of conflict between the bicyclist and the car. And while I'd like to think that I will always be, as a motorist, most of the time, that I'm going to be awake and aware and not talking to somebody in the car, singing along with the radio, to see that green, I just think that we need to get one more set of eyes on those intersections. I listened. I'm the new liaison for the Transportation Commission, and I listened while we all struggled with how you address that conflict at each of those intersections. And so I think the idea to bring in a consultant is a very good and very sound idea, even if it means additional cost. I think Plan D got mislabeled. I don't think it was a plan. I think it was, again, and I don't remember who it was in the public comment, but said that essentially it was a reaction to how to make Plan C feel a little bit more comfortable. I think that was the case. I think Plan D should have been called like Plan C subset something something instead of Plan D. And hindsight's 20/20. I think we do need to be very, and I want to hear from the streets guys. We need to really, really think through snow removal and sweeping, that's part of what makes Moscow so great, is how well you guys keep this community clean and free of snow and that sort of thing. So these are big things. So I guess I would really like to see Plan C happen. Again, like we said in the Transportation Commission, these bike lanes, the opposing traffic, but what are you calling them?
Two-way separated bike lanes.
Okay, two-way separated bike lanes, thank you. Is that like traffic control measures? I
It's
need
not
to
my
learn the
term,
lingo.
so sorry.
I think this is a great idea, but we have got to do it right. And so, and I really felt like that was the wish of everybody that's been involved in this. But I watched while we all squirmed at the Transportation Commission trying to make that work too. So, so transportation, I like Plan C, and I like it with the consultant attached.